We're all slaves. We're all victims of the same system. What I think is strange is Netanyahu flees to Greece. But that doesn't show you what a coward he is. That doesn't show you that the Iron Dome is fake. You guys realize that? The Iron Dome is fake. The Iron Dome is just like the Samson option. It's something that if you believe it, it works. It's a deterrence strategy. But it's how they operate. They make you believe in shit that isn't real. And just like with the Samson option, if you believe that the Iron Dome will shoot down anything you shoot at bad guy land, then you're less likely to shoot anything at bad guy land. Well, we're about to get hit with a big old storm here. The Samson option is the deterrent strategy that says if they ever feel, well, let me read it to you. Let's just read it for what it is. Should do it again. My wife is losing her eyesight. Samson option. Samson option. The Samson option is bad guy lands, and look at this. Look how interesting this is, because anybody can just go edit wiki to say whatever they want, right? Unless, of course, it's one of these locked pages. Strange how this page is locked. Is bad guy land's deterrent strategy of massive retaliation with nuclear weapons as a last resort against any country whose military has invaded and or destroyed much of Israel. That and or is a really key element to that, right? They're saying invaded, like anything could be claimed under invasion. So all you got to do is say, oh, we've been invaded. Commenters have also employed the term to refer to situations where non-nuclear, non-bad guy actors have threatened conventional weapons retaliation. It's a biblical reference, blah, 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 blah. But it's not real. And what you're seeing with this whole Iran situation is that the Iron Dome is fake too. Sure, they'll keep putting out videos showing that the Iron Dome is working, intercepting missiles. But the reality is, every time you see one of those videos, you're seeing an example of bad guy land attacking itself, shooting missiles into agreed upon coordinates so they can be shot down. You know, it's everywhere. I'll go. How's it going, man? You know, you're seeing it. I know Algo sees it. If the Iron Dome was real, there wouldn't be any. Netanyahu wouldn't leave. He wouldn't run away to Greece, knowing that the safest place for him is in this G.I. Joe fortress that they've built that could shoot down any sort of targets coming at them. But it's just not real. And it's weird because I'm having a hard time with it. You know, as much as I just can't stand Israel and I hate those people, I don't want him to die. I don't want anyone to die. It's weird, man. It's a weird feeling. Like, it, you know, the idea of innocent brainwashed children, it's as real as it's just, it's so funny how guys like you, like, still talk about Obama. You still talk about Jussie Smollett, whatever his name is. Like, there's not a ton of fucking examples that don't involve black guys, but you love talking about black guys. And obviously something else was going on there, not just Jussie Smollett doing it. Like, that just doesn't make any sense. But that's, you know, that's such a, that story's like, what, at least 5 years old? Why would you still be talking about that? All you white guys who still talk about Obama, it's crazy to me. Especially considering, like, you really don't talk that much shit about Trump for some strange reason. I mean, this is just, what we're seeing is just overload. It's an overload. And again, I don't, part of me wants to cheer when I see the missile strikes in Tel Aviv and all that, but I don't know, man. I mean, it's like they're all brainwashed children. At what age does you being a brainwashed child stop? You know, as much as you want to think, like, how could they do this? How could they be such savage? They were raised to be savages. They were raised that if they were anything but the worst of the worst savages, they weren't good enough. They could be killed. You know, so you have all these disgusting little trolls saying these horrible things. I mean, there's endless videos of these trolls saying horrible things. I don't care about America. I don't care about children. Bomb them all, kill them all. You know, all these things. These videos exist. They're fucking everywhere. And I know that they would kill me. I know if they had the option, they would kill me and wouldn't think twice about it. But and I have a, you know, my ideal situation has always been that they realize that they're part of a supremacist cult and deny it and walk away and turn against it. It's not going to happen. But it's still, like, that's the ideal. I don't want to see people dying. Doesn't matter who they are, I just don't. I can't imagine how terrifying that is, especially for the children. The children who have been brainwashed to think that they are God's chosen people and what they do is right and justified and warranted and that everybody loves them for doing it. And if anybody doesn't love them for doing it, it's because there's something wrong with them. But it's so hard to at the same time. And the reality is, while everybody is sort of focused on this Iran situation, bad guy land is taking full advantage and just killing as many Palestinians as they can, knowing that the coverage just won't be there like it sort of was prior to. Sort of. You know, you can't forget about the genocide that's taking place just because there is something else going on. And you also have to remember that Iran sat by and watched for the last 2 years as bad guy land committed genocide, murdered children. You know, the only reason they got involved is because they got attacked. I wish they were dumb enough to attack Saudi Arabia. But then again, I mean, I still don't understand, like this should be one of those things for you to sort of, you know, those who drink the Kool-Aid. If Iran had all these nuclear weapons and shit, well, why haven't they just launched it? Why haven't they just taken out bad guy land with one big bomb? I mean, I can't help but wonder what's actually happening with all of it. You know, what are we actually seeing? Is this all just manufactured? Everything Iran, is that manufactured? Is that, I don't know. Are there just more agreed upon targets? Are bad guys actually taking casualties? I mean, it's crazy because they're the mansions that they've been given by the government, paid for by the U.S. Oh, look, it's a bad storm today. Behind the clouds, when the clouds break, there's the trails. The mansions that they get come complete with a fucking bomb shelter, a very sophisticated bomb shelter. It's shocking when you see the destruction photos. I've so trained myself at this point to look at the background of photos. Whenever you're given information and you know, pictures or a story or whatever that's supposed to manipulate you to think one way or another, I always tell people, look at the backgrounds. The backgrounds of the photos often tell a different story. Like when you look at the Hollywoodism videos. All of the videos that you've ever seen of the Hollywoodism, there's the foreground that you're supposed to pay attention to, and it's generally like shocking. You know, it'll be, especially if you're prepared for it. You know, you've been told this is what you're gonna see and this is blah blah blah. But if you look in the backgrounds, you never see like people in a camp, you know, labor working. You don't see anything in the background. The only thing you ever see is the foreground. And I just can't, you know, I can't help but look at that when I see the destruction photos in Tel Aviv, and I just look and I'm like, Jesus Christ, look at the size of these fucking houses. I mean, it's just, they're gigantic. I always have to point it out. Look at the fucking dumbass comments, right? There's always going to be the dumbasses that are desperately trying to get you to not talk about what you're talking about. And you have to ask who that is. Obviously, this is a dumb bad guy. But just like, think about it. You stumble onto a page where, well, not stumble, I mean, these guys, they're tasked with coming here. But just think like the average person, you stumble across a page where somebody is talking about the genocide taking place and, you know, just the narrative that we're given. And what you want to do is change the subject? Why? Why would anybody want to change the subject? I know why the bad guys would want to change the subject, because it sure makes them look bad. But, you know, anyone else, you just wonder, like, what's your end game? What's your goal? You know, it'd be a whole different story if Christians were actually, like, intelligent. If they would come in and make, like, intelligent arguments or even knowledgeable arguments. know, that Christians generally come in and they say stupid things, but it's like, you don't know your shit. And maybe not knowing it is part of the continuation of it. You know, actually, I do think that's a big part of it. Right? I think a lot of people are too smart for the Bible, so they don't read it. They just take what they're given. Nothing coming out of that plane. You started with something saying, right? Because the header of my video, even though it's clearly the title of the show, that's the only thing that I could talk about. What caused the Big Bang? The Big Bang is a stupid ass nothing. It's not a real thing. It's dumb. But this is what this person's desperately trying to do, trying to get me to talk about anything but the genocide taking place. What possible non-physical outside of time mysterious thing gave way to the universe? Yep. You're gonna get chemtrailed. I get chemtrailed every day. It's right there. Right? Just what a dumbass thing. Like, oh, well, what caused the Big Bang? Come on. So now Christians have adapted, right? Because they're too smart to be like, you know, to know what their Bible says, I guess. Because their Bible flat out tells them, that the Big Bang and shit is nonsense. Like, there is no Big Bang. There's no space. You know, it's weird how Christians don't seem to know what the fuck their Bible says. And this whole idea of like what created the earth and all that, I don't give a shit. I couldn't care less. That's just distraction bullshit that we'll never get the answers to anyway. The only way we'd ever get the answers is if we unify and overthrow the bad guys that control our narrative. You know, to sit here and waste time arguing with idiots over what story we were given, which one's true. It's fucking pointless. Hurricane formation and cloud seeding started 50 years ago on government reports. Yeah. I'm sure it started a long time before that. The funny thing is, though, if you do look up the history of things like earthquakes, things like hurricanes and tornadoes and shit, there isn't one. And you would think, like, if anything, the sheep people of previous generations would talk about it would be the God fingers coming down and scraping across the ground with a hurricane or shaking shit up, but there's really very few reports of it. And they actually say that like 80 to 90% of the tornadoes that happen in the United States. They don't happen across the world. Ezekiel 23:20 will answer it all. No, it won't. Never mind Matthew 24:34, right? I love how Christians always want to forget about Matthew 24:34. I've read the Bible, not most knowledgeable. Yeah, you're dumb. You read the Bible when you were a kid and you were made to. What's the very first thing God does after it turns on the light? Just answer that question. And what about Matthew 24:34 for all of you Bible quoters? It's always funny how, even if you watch like the people talk about it or whatever, they always skip over Matthew 24:34. Matthew 24:34 is Jesus answering the question regarding Revelations, because, you know, that's a scary story and the people were scared. When is all this going to happen? Jesus says, "Verily I say unto you, no one of this generation shall die before all of these things come to pass." Well, Like, you can't be dumb enough to think that the people of supposedly Jesus's time are still alive, right? But notice how, like, Christians will constantly, like, they don't actually engage or answer for anything, and they'll make little dumb quotes or whatever, and then the slightest little thing that sort of, I mean, I don't even know, like, I wouldn't say validates, but acknowledges what they've said. They're like, see, who told you? Okay, gotta go by. This is fucking stupid. You know, this whole like again, Christians clearly don't know what their Bible says. They clearly don't understand, like, every character in the Bible is a bad guy. They literally talk about the Gentiles as separate people on multiple occasions. But all of the characters that are in, especially in Genesis, are bad guys. It's not a word-for-word translation, that stupid fool. That's how you see what I mean? You see what I mean? They constantly look for little things, and then they start running their mouths like they never do in like face to face. This little bitch would never talk to me like that. But they totally flip Christian. You know, they turn into big old meanie heads as soon as their shit starts falling apart. Notice how they don't answer the things I'm talking about. There is context and meaning to, yeah. It's funny, whenever the shit doesn't validate what they're saying, then it's like, oh, it's an interpretation, or there's context, or there's blah, 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 you know. They always have that. Even though the Bible is supposed to be like word for word, you're not supposed to interpret shit. You're supposed to believe it word for word. And notice how they doesn't answer the question. Ask them, what was the first thing God did? No answer there. What about Matthew 24:34? Oh, well, that's just stupid. You know, why didn't Jesus come down and be like, hey, you know, you guys are living on a giant ball spinning around that bright star in the middle, up in the sky right there. You're actually going around that thing. That thing's 400 times the size of the thing you're on. And the reality is, it's all just big, giant. You're just the smallest little piece of this huge, huge thing. How come Jesus didn't say anything like that? It has to be understood. Word for word translation is utterly moronic. You ignoramus. Look at this shit. Look at how desperate this dumbass is. Where does the Bible say that it's supposed to be interpreted by whatever you think it's supposed to mean? I know the end of Revelation says that everything said is to be taken word for word, and it's not allowed to be changed. But hey, right? What does the Father knows the hour mean to? Look at how dumb this person is so rattled right now that they're not even making sense. So to you, what does only the Father knows the hour mean to? Like, look at how dumb you are. That's what you're doing. Yep. Because I know things. They don't fit your narrative, but thank you. Thank you for proving my point. Christians are just so dumb. They are so dumb. You know, Christians are the dumbest people in the world. Bad guys are the worst people in the world. Muslims are the most misguided people in the world, and, like, you know, loyal but misguided. You can't answer one question. What only the Father knows the time mean? It's just dumb shit. It's one of those things where because it's fake, you give a super vague answer so that, dumb sheep can keep falling for it. Oh, I'm going to give you the answers for this, and I'm going to tell you this, and I'm going to tell you this, and this, but this one part, it's a secret. I'm going to keep it a secret. Such stupid nonsense. Good morning, Matt. Are you a flat earther? I don't believe the earth is a round ball flying through space. I wouldn't say I'm a flat earther because that opens up the door for too many stupid things. People will think you mean the earth is a frisbee flying around the sun and all this other bullshit. Like, it's just so stupid how limited people's capacity is. Thanks for the like, Matt. If you're watching, don't forget to like, share, and sub. It helps out. Why are you doing this? Why not? Why shouldn't I? It's all about understanding, really. It's a journey in understanding, and the only way I can understand things is if I put everything out there and we hash it out. Okay, here we go. Here's some dumb thing. If two men are struggling together and the wife to deliver her husband from the hand of the one who is striking him, and puts out her hand and seizes his genitals, then you shall cut off her hand. That sounds ridiculous. That's the other thing, is I'm very much a champion of women and equality and shit, and you can't really be a Christian and also believe in women's rights. Nothing coming out of that lane. Sigh. The Bible has to be viewed as a whole and understand in terms of ancient context. Word for word translation is moronic, yeah? So your dumb, arrogant ass believes that you know which parts are to be translated and which parts are to be taken literally. And you know the ancient context and the time. Like, this is how stupid they get. They hide behind, circular, cloudy bullshit. Because they know they don't have shit to say. They don't have any real answers. That's we needed Jesus, says this dumbass. Because they're so rattled right now, they can't even make fucking real sentences. Oh, I took the flint off her forehead and then blah, blah, blah. We are definitely on a... The guy that's pushing Christianity, pushing the Bible and Jesus, thinks that we're on a sphere flying through space. This is exactly how stupid that's exactly what we're talking about. Again, notice how he hasn't answered the question, what did God do after it turned on the light? Right? What's the first thing God does? They love to ignore the parts that don't work for them. But for you to be a Christian and believe in the round earth theory, it just shows you how little you actually know. You haven't read your shit. You don't know what your shit says. These Christians are as dumb as it gets, man. It's really embarrassing. It's embarrassing, and it's scary to think that, like, so many people in leadership roles are either Christian or bad guy. And it's all just bullshit anyway. All three of the Abrahamic religions are just bullshit. I don't even bother with this fucking idiot anymore. I mean, it's a prime example of your average Christian. Nothing coming out of that plane. And the utter stupid. Like, you have to be stupid to be a Christian. You have to be. You're so stupid and programmed at the same time that your Bible is such nonsense that you have to say things like, it's translated and it can't take it word for word. Why? Because then it would be stupid. Sorry, moronic. If you read it word for word and think it's word for word true, then that's moronic. That's how stupid your thing is. That's how stupid your belief structure is. So what does it really matter? Just live your life. See, I'm not a selfish prick like that. I'm not somebody that can see genocide taking place and not say anything about it. But it's that same white mentality that they're definitely the loudest to speak up when they feel like they've been wronged. Whenever you see somebody with a sign that says protect our religious freedoms, you can guarantee it's a Christian. They don't care about anybody else's religious freedoms, but something has happened where they weren't allowed to pray in a place where they wanted to pray or some shit like that, and protect our religious freedoms. Are you an atheist? I mean, I hate to label myself anything that the system has given me, but if I'm going to say any of them, yeah, I guess that's it. I'm more of a Gaianist than anything. I practice Gaianism. God made man from clay is bullshit. No, it's totally real. It's totally real. God made man from clay. That's totally real. But notice how, again, this dumbass refuses to answer the question. What was the first thing God did after it turned on the light? So they got their father to drink wine with the younger daughter and slept with him. He was not aware of it when she lay down, so both of Lot's daughters became pregnant by their father. Exactly. We were just talking about that. We talked about this 2 days ago. The narrative, maybe it's yesterday, I don't know, but the whole gay is bad because Sodom and Gomorrah says so. It's just more proof that your average Christian doesn't actually know what their shit says. You can't even understand what I'm saying. You're absolutely right. I can't understand how stupid you can be. Where did organic life originate on this planet? Where did it originate? I don't know where it originated. I don't really care about the origination. That's the thing to so many people, like they can't wrap their heads around it because they're so distracted worrying about some shit they can't know the answer to that they think, why don't you do the same thing I do? Why aren't you distracted by this? This is hard to follow, not knowing your position. What position do you need to know? I just don't understand what you're saying. What's hard to follow here? The Bible, Christianity, all that, it's bullshit. It's just a bad guy control mechanism, which is exactly why, like the Christians, again, being the dumbest people of them all. You believe that a completely different religion, a different cult, the cult that actually killed your superhero, your Jesus, who also happens to be your Christian God's only son, that those are Christian God's chosen people. You're not even the top dogs in your own belief structure. And if you're not one of the chosen people, then what are you? They don't like that question. Nobody ever answers that one. Right? They never want to answer, well, what does that make you? That makes you one of the slaves, right? That makes you one of the 2,800 slaves that every one of them is supposed to have. That's what they believe. That's what we're here for. That's what the Goyim are here for. Everything that isn't them is here for them. But you don't want to acknowledge that, right? You guys don't like that part, right? You're stuck believing some second-class bullshit. Free Palestine. I'm with you on that, but that's not the real rally cry, right? Free Palestine, how do I say Free Palestine to Iran? How do I say Free Palestine to Lebanon and Yemen and Syria and all of the other victims of the cult? Free Palestine is just the thing that we're sort of allowed to say so we don't get in trouble. They let us have that one because we have to express our anger. But, we're told we're not allowed to express our anger towards the true problem. which is the cult. You know, bad guy land is just invisible lines drawn on paper that change all the time. Whenever bad guy land wants to expand, bad guy land gets bigger. So bad guy land is just an idea. It's just a thought. It's just a belief. You believe it's there. It's there. Like Charlie Kirk's dumbass talking about, oh, I don't know, Palestine doesn't exist. Palestine, it's Judea and Samaria. Blah, blah, blah. Like, who gives a shit what it's called, you dumbass? Nice circular argument to try to avoid what's actually being said. You want to get hung up on what it's called? Yeah, oh, look. We have a pedo flag flyer. If you fly the pedo flag, you get removed. We don't allow people to fly the pedo flag on my page. Nazi person is it? What the fuck do you even mean? Like, it's stupid. But that's it. So back to what I'm saying. Like, it's not, like, I agree in Free Palestine. But I believe the rally call is end the cult. Because the cult is what controls, it's not, Palestine isn't the only group the only place that's under the thumb of the bad guys. All of us in the United States, we're under the thumb. We're victims of the bad guys. We're just not as victimized as the Palestinians are. No, I don't report people. That's a bitch move. End the occupation. Nah, it's not even end the occupation. It's end the cult, man. The cult that they violate their own children. If they can violate their own children, whether it's the procedure that's done 8 days after birth, the cutty, slicey, sucky, or it's the ritual sexual abuse that's just so commonplace in that cult. Right? It's the cult that's the problem. It's the cult that believes their own women's vaginas are so toxic that they need to be cleansed every month. Like that's what they do to supposedly the people they love, right? If they can do that to the people they love, what can they do to the people they hate? And you better believe it, they hate you. Can't be half in, half out. I hate that crap. Right. Well, that's what most people are. But you have to understand that, most people are like 100% programmed and controlled by the cult. The cult has, that's why I keep telling you guys to watch Hollywoodism. There really isn't anything else worth watching in comparison. Hollywoodism is them explaining it to you, laying it out flat out. We created and controlled Hollywood, and we've used it to create the America that we want. Meaning they've used it to manipulate our perception of history, our perception of culture, our perception of government, of love, all of that shit. It's all their design. Look at like this person who is putting one letter in. Just say what you gotta say, dude. Don't be a pussy about it. And I always think it's funny how you get people that will come in and instead of talking about what's being talked about, they want to talk about things like submarines. If you want to have the submarine conversation, just go watch the first 9 parts of my series, Submarines Aren't Real, and argue everything you can. I'll see those comments. I won't see any of these comments after the fact. It's funny, all of these comments will be removed when this video's over. I don't do it, but that's how it works. So which people on earth aren't capable of terrible, heinous evil? Why would any other group be better? You must be a bad guy, I guess, right? Because it's the bad guys that do that shit. Well, what about what they're doing? Well, what about what they're doing? What about what they've done? And the reality is, none of them, no group on this planet that exists that's created by the awful control system is gonna work. If something was gonna work, it would still be the case. You know, if it's good enough, people will steal it. You don't have to force things on people that are good. And if any one of these control systems that they've given us were actually good, we'd fight for it. You know? But we all know it's all bullshit. Everything that we think about is bullshit. Oh, yeah. My inane rambling. Oh, that's what's happening. The tech is super easy to understand. It's so easy. India has it. Yeah, I don't understand engineering. Yeah, that's what it is. This is, oh, we've changed our picture. I didn't realize that you changed your picture. Yeah, you're one of the ones that gets ignored. Because you're one of those ones that can't admit they're wrong, even when they're absolutely proven wrong. And once you show me that, then you have no credibility. I couldn't care less what you have to say. Yep, I don't understand all of these things. Instead, you'll see this time and time again on my feed, right? You'll see these people who try to insult their way past their own ignorance. Because they can't make any arguments against what I'm saying. They then try to say that I don't understand this or blah, 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 but they don't actually say anything. It's just the same stupidity over and over again. And not one of them ever condemns the pedophilia. Not one of them ever condemns the genocide. They don't do that shit. But I just don't understand things. Also, they have the second highest population. They are way smarter than your average citizen. Yup. I've been on a submarine before. I believe you. Seriously, who is going to be more concerned about my belief in submarines than they would about genocide? Than they would about, pedophilia, than they would about the religious control mechanisms and anything. Who's going to be more concerned about that? There's a literal genocide happening right now, and you want to pretend like you know about submarines when you don't know shit. That's the other aspect. None of these people are fucking experts. None of these people know what the fuck they're talking about. I was at a harbor one time and they were giving tours. Oh, so you went on a boat that was docked in a harbor. So that means it's real. Gotcha. We know you do, Matt. What's the Iron Dome? The Iron Dome is a system of defense that bad guy land claims to have, that anything that gets shot into their airspace gets shot down by computerized satellite rocket blah 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 bullshit. But basically all it is when bad guy land fires rockets into their own agreed upon airspace and then shoots them down, and they say, look, we have this indefensible shield around us. It's fucking stupid. Do you support Kamala or Trump? I'm not dumb enough to fall for either side. If you're dumb enough to fall for either side of the we give you two choices thing, we're not on that same level there. Yeah. Kamala just said Iran is our greatest can't think of the actual word, but bad guy. Why am I missing that? But Kamala just said it. Kamala has a bad guy husband and had a bad guy vice president. She's a bad guy. What about the video footage of submarine in the past? Yeah, what's your opinion on that? Well, we all know that video footage. If you see it, it has to be real. Nobody can fake video footage. But people say shit like that when they don't understand. You think there's video footage of submarines, but there's not. There's video footage of boats. Morning. There's video footage of boats going across the top of the water, maybe going slightly underneath the water. But you're not gonna, the only footage you'll find of submarines underwater is one that's clearly fake. It's models, it's not real. And then the other one that is supposedly one of those glass bottom boat tour things or whatever. But and it's just nonsense. It's just stupidity. But hey, let's go on here. Honestly, what's your point? My point is that we Goyim need to unify and eliminate the cult that controls us and keeps all the truth from us, and constantly caught violating children, and manufactures the wars and all that shit. It's pretty obvious. It's not indefensible. Shit still gets through because it's not real. When Iran really fires rockets into bad guy land, they hit stuff. Because nobody has actually been, yep, that's what it is. Here, let me just give you one more argument. There's a great video out there that supposedly shows life on a submarine. And it's all, the people on the inside. And what you notice is that the people on the inside never seem to be affected by the movement that they're experiencing. If you've ever been on a plane or a train or a car, you know that the slightest movement of the vessel, you can feel it. You can feel when you hit a bump. You can feel when, the plane is moving and, banks one way or another. You can feel it. It's hard to walk on a plane. Even when it's at cruising altitude, when you stand up and you go to walk towards the bathroom, it's like, whoa, this feels weird. Yet when you look at any video footage of supposedly people in submarines, they're crawling around, they're drawing on tables, they're just doing everything like they're on the ground, like nothing's happening. And there's this one footage, supposedly, of a submarine that is supposedly 100 feet underwater, and it's ascending really fast. It's ascending at 10 feet per second, right? And it's going to break through the ice at the top. And they show you the footage of the supposed cockpit, of all the guys in the cockpit, and they're all just standing there, do. For some reason, the cockpit is full of people who are just standing there, not doing anything. And then there's also this little, Atari-style graphic on the side showing, the submarine's down here, and then it's ascending 10 feet per second until it breaks through the ice. And when it breaks through the ice, they say, brace for impact, boom, and they break through the ice. And the people inside don't even stumble. They're not, whoa, they don't even do anything like that. They just crash through the ice and everything's fine. How is that possible? How is it possible that you can, even the idea that you're in this giant tin can and you're going to use it to break through some ice? You know how stupid that is? One little puncture in your tin can sinks. But the fact that you can see it, they show it to you all the time, the people inside the submarine not being affected by movement, should wake you up. It should make you think, oh, wait, maybe there is something going on here. They say that they have submarines that are the size of 80 school buses, can stay underwater for 3 months, 6 months at a time without coming up for air. It's summertime now here in the States, in the Northern Hemisphere. I challenge any of you, just take a 2-liter to the beach, put the top on it, and see if you can sink it. See if you can put it down at the bottom of the water. Especially if you swim out where the water's over your head. See if you can then push that 2-liter down to the bottom of the lake or wherever you're in. See if you can do it. You can't. Spoiler alert. Yeah, well, if you haven't started questioning everything that you've been told, that's on you. The system that there's clearly some sort of reset that took place, and yet you don't hear about it. The fact is, Tartaria was a major world power for quite some time. According to the narrative, according to the non-conspiracy narrative, just the actual narrative, Tartaria was 100% real and was this massive, you know, the Rosicrucian, blah, 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 the whole thing. I was a history guy. Like, I liked history growing up, and I used to watch anything I could that would come out. I never heard about Tartaria until we started talking about it, or until they put it out there. But just the fact that Tartaria was never talked about in school should make you question something. But see, again, like, so many of you are just dumb. You don't even understand how dumb you are. The Empire State Building, built in 1921 or 31, can't remember which one it is, but it was built in just under 400 days. And that one's even later in the century, but still, you go look at the oldest photos you can find. Go look at the oldest videos you can find. The oldest photos you can find of large cityscapes show these massive cities with huge buildings, you know, skyscrapers that go as far as the eye can see, blah, blah, blah. And the city's empty. There's no people anywhere. All of the oldest pictures, there's no people. There are these huge buildings, huge cathedrals, huge castles, huge whatever. Never any construction photos, of course. But the streets are empty. How is that even possible? You know, and most of you just accept this idea that, like, oh, well, how are the pyramids made? We don't know. Oh, well, what about all the churches and castles and shit? Oh, well, you know, we don't know. We don't know. We know that there was a fire and it burnt down and then it was rebuilt in a year, and they know all that stupid shit. But they don't know. And when you start to understand that, like, you know, simple common sense, it's like, do you honestly think that the people that didn't have power tools, didn't have electricity, didn't have vehicles and all this shit, that they were able, like, look at the World's Fairs. The World's Fairs should just blow your fucking mind. And of course, the World's Fairs were built as temporary structures made of wood and mache type materials. Unless it's one of the buildings that happens to still exist, then that building was made from the most sturdy materials possible, that it could still exist to this day and not worry about it. But all the rest of the materials, all the rest of the buildings, the giant statues, the waterways and all that shit, they built it up in a year, maybe two, and then they destroyed it all a couple years later. Like, it's just stupid. And the thing is, at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter what I'm talking about, because we can't know the truth. The only way we ever know the truth about any of this stuff is if the Goyim unite and overthrow the bad guys that control our narrative. Just that simple. You know, it sucks because it's all fascinating, and I love looking into stuff, and I love, you know, researching, and I love the stories and the narratives we're given. I love debunking those things. But at the end of the day, I'm just wasting my time. It's just a waste of time. Now look, we'll see the comments, right? Go look at the comments. See if anybody actually addresses what I'm saying and sort of debunks it. Or are they just sort of stroking themselves and each other, trying to make themselves feel better because they're stupid? Right? It's not like I'm talking about fantasy shit. It's not like I'm talking about shit that people don't understand. I'm talking about literally the number one trending topics in the world right now, which is especially bad guy land and the genocide. And they want to talk about stupid shit. Yep, and here we go. The people have offered a bunch of explanations. We always get this one. Instead of actually giving an explanation, they hide behind, well, we've done it before, so if I've done it before, I can't say it again. Just stupid. Like, it's such cop-out bullshit, and you see it over and over again. And I wonder who falls for it, right? Right? Who falls for this shit? If you could debunk what I'm saying, you would. You wouldn't be hiding behind all of these different little goofy-ass middle school tactics and shit, but they do. I'm glad I'm not this stupid. Here's the government lying. But yeah, that's what it is. But see, again, most of you are so arrogant that you think you know which things the government is lying to you about and which things they're not. You can decipher it. You're so super smart that you know, everything that you believe is true and everything that you say isn't true isn't true. Yeah, the government lies to you, but I know the difference. That dumb Trumpanzee mentality, where it's just arrogance. It's fucking arrogance. I know which ones are real. I know which one. I know that Christianity is absolutely real, but Islam is stupid. It's not real. That one's stupid. I know that Islam is real, but Christianity is stupid. Like, you guys are just fools. And it's crazy how you know, how commonplace, how everybody, it's the same shit. Doesn't matter if you're talking to a Christian or a Muslim, they argue the same dumb nonsense points. Let's see, here comes one. You are shifting the burden of proof now. Your claim is subs don't exist, blah, 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 blah. Yep, I'm sitting here talking about subs, not you guys. I love how they keep doing this. If you want to argue the submarine thing, go watch the first 9 parts where we thoroughly debunk it, and you just debunk what I'm saying. But to sit here and try to curb the conversation away from the genocide, away from the control system, away from the pedophilia and all that, what's your goal? Why are you just super concerned with my beliefs in submarines? You want to talk about straw man shit. You obviously can't argue this. So the submarine thing is not a common thing. You'll never hear anybody talk about it. People are more than willing to question space travel and the idea of anything like that. But to think that we can fly through water, through billions and billions of pounds of water, pressing down on every, you know, just crushing water, we just fly through it like it's no big deal. You're okay with that. And because, you know, it's a very, very popular misconception, and it's, you know, there's nobody else. Of course you want to stick with that one. Well, I watched The Hunt for Red October, and The Hunt for Red October, that's real, man. I mean, it's a movie, but it's real, man. It's easy to stick with the submarines thing. You'd think it would be, you know, and I think it's easy to debunk it. But every time I bring anything up, it's like you don't even answer for it. You just jump to the next thing. Made so many points about submarines, but it just doesn't matter. And the fact is, you want to keep bringing this back to submarines or Earth shape or whatever you want to talk about, instead of talking about the control scheme. The control scheme that's literally killing children right now. This is how this always works. These arrogant pricks who think they control what my feed is about. These arrogant pricks who can't answer, they can't even explain why they believe what they believe. And really, as far as submarines go, you're dumb. You don't know shit about submarines. I know way, way more about submarines than you do because I've looked into it and I read everything. You think, if you watch the first 9 parts, you'll know what I know. That's obvious. I love listening to these crazy people on YouTube. Yeah. Well, we all know nobody knows more about anything than you, David. David, the guy that said that commercial airplanes fly thousands and thousands of miles per hour. And then when shown that that's not the case, he just doubled down. Oh, I didn't see, I was saying this. Stupid shit. When you can't even admit you're wrong and you're shown that you're wrong by your own system. Remember, you believe the system. Of course, you're one of these arrogant pricks who again, you believe the parts you want to believe. There's plenty of things that you don't believe because you know better. Who benefits from lying about submarines? The system does. It's a way of control. Are you likely to pull together a bunch of people and then, get yourself a nice big ship and go try to sail to the Arctic and see for yourself when you know that there are submarines that they'll shoot you, they'll shoot you down? Submarines are just like the Iron Dome. They're just like the Samson option. What's the benefit of having a strategy that if you're ever attacked, you'll shoot your nukes in every direction and kill everybody? What's the benefit of that? Well, that makes people less likely to attack you. If people believe that you have an Iron Dome that will shoot everything they have out of the sky before it can cause any damage, well, then they're less likely to shoot at you, aren't they? And it's the same thing with the submarines. If you believe that there's a submarine, that they have submarines capable of doing incredible things, then you're less likely to challenge. It makes lots of sense. It's about control. It's the same reason they lie about space travel and all that shit. And what's the craziest part is how willing everyone is to believe things without any evidence. You guys all believe in the James Webb Space Telescope. Not because you have a bunch of evidence for it, but because they provide you with a bunch of CGI pretty pictures. And they've acknowledged that it's CGI. They've acknowledged that they have artists that interpret the information, the zeros and ones that the computer spits out, and creates these pretty pictures that we all like so much. The horse head nebulas and, such a stupid bunch of shit. Look at these dumb comments. My father is an admiral on a nuclear sub. Oh, I'm sure he is. I believe you. I believe that you would be out on a random YouTube page outing yourself like that. Making yourself a target by saying, my father is, yep, that makes sense. Just like every time somebody claims that they've worked on them and all that, yep, you're going to come onto the random YouTube page and make yourself that kind of target, right? If your dad's the admiral on a nuclear sub, well, if I'm the bad guy, I'm going to come get you. If you're watching, don't forget to like, share, and sub. It actually helps. Submarine the page. Like, share, and sub. It helps, dude. It helps. And really, if even if you don't like me, hit the dislike button and take 2 seconds to share this. Hit the share button and then share it on your Facebook page. And if you need to, share it with the comment like, this guy is crazy. Come tell him how. I'm not smart enough. You don't have to put the I'm not smart enough, but you can. Try to get somebody in here that can actually have an intelligent conversation. The Confederacy had the first sub. No, they didn't. But see, that just goes to show you how stupid everyone is. And the sub of the Confederacy failed. Just like most of the subs prior to, suddenly we just figured it out. Subs just failed and failed and failed and failed and failed, supposedly. And then suddenly we just figured it out. And then in 1952, They just decided that we needed nuclear powered subs, and they just made it. They were just able to put a nuclear. What's up there, tall man? Feeling good? They were just able to figure out how to put an entire nuclear power plant into a submarine. Yeah. They just did it. But the first sub is actually from 1620 by a guy called Cornelius Drebbel, who supposedly could make it thunder and lightning on command. He invented the camera obscura and a whole bunch of other shit. He invented lenses that are used for telescopes, and just one of these pseudo characters that they give us to attribute a whole bunch of stuff to, so we can, you know. But you're just, it's like you say things like you're some sort of intelligent person, and you're not. You're speaking from your ass. Oh, the first someone in the Confederacy. Because you guys still believe in the idea of Civil War and all this other bullshit history they've given us. It's all just bullshit. You ever notice how every single Civil War uniform you've ever seen looks like it's made for a child, like a teenager? Oh, well, that's just because people were a lot smaller back then. Sure. Sure. How come if I'm so wrong about things, how come people don't just come in here and be like, dude, you're wrong about this because this, right? How come they don't just say the easy shit? How come they come in here and say all kinds of everything else but exactly what I'm wrong about and how I'm wrong about the thing, right? It's interesting how that works, isn't it? But this is just what they do. This is how the stupid narrative works. This is what they have to do. If they did something any other way, their belief structure, their whole thing would fall apart. So they have to do things the way they do them. Yep, mental issues, yeah, oh my goodness. You don't believe what I believe, so something's wrong with you. You know things more than I do, so something's wrong with you. I'm gonna watch you every day for hours and hours on end because I hate you so much. Fucking funny, man. And of course, it's you know, it's the standard bad guy tactic. This is what they do. You'll notice you never see anybody on the news that supports bad guy land. That's like, okay, I want to hear from people who don't support bad guy land. I want to hear from people who support Palestine, and I'm gonna debunk all of your arguments. You literally never see anything like that. The only thing you ever see is bad guys telling us, the Goyim, that we're not allowed to talk about it. We shouldn't say the things we're saying. That's anti-supremacy. If you say that, that's anti-supremacy. Don't say that. I mean, it's like insanity how it works, but it has to work that way. You know? They can't encourage you to ask questions and look into things because you'll see it for what it is. Oh, now you wanna change the subject and talk about the moon? Gotcha. Weed down, drug fried bread. Yep, all of these things because I'm saying we need to stop the genocide. Who is going to support that? Who thinks that the guy that thinks we should stop the genocide and kill pedophiles? I'm crazy. I'm just a crazy bad guy for saying those things. Yet you're not going to sit here and tell me why you think I should stop. You know. Oh, genocide isn't real. Yeah, we must have another dumb bad guy here. Only the dumbest of the bad guys say that. The Charlie Kirks of the world, you know, bad guy puppets, but they're just dumb. They use these circular arguments that don't work. Genocide isn't real. Yeah, okay. There's endless videos showing you exactly what's happening. For the first time in history, the people on the ground actually have a way to document what's going on. You know, everybody believes the holocaust, and you have literally no reason to. The information available completely destroys the narrative you're given. Actually, that reminds me. I was going to look this guy up. David Cole. I wonder if is it Montel? Was he on Montel? I'm not going to be able to find the actual clip. Is this it? No, it's a Facebook clip. Damn. Here you go.
6 million Jews died.
If I make a point now, she said the fact that 6 million Jews died. However, in 1988, the site at Auschwitz where people can go and tour the
He's
gas
one of them,
chambers,
by the way.
they lowered their figure from 4 million dead to 1 million dead. So that was 3 million taken out of the equation overnight. Where did these 3 million go? Were they never there in the first place? Were they in the camps, and did they survive? And if you can lose 3 million people overnight, who's to say that 1 million remaining figure is not also wrong?
And let me ask you this question. Weren't some of these figures ascertained after the fact because they went back and did censuses after?
The source of the famous 6 million figure is an affidavit by by somebody who was brought in at the Nuremberg trial in 1945-46. Even Raoul Hilberg, who's considered one of the major figures in the Holocaust historian, is professor at the University of Vermont. He concedes himself that the 6 million figure is based upon crude calculations. It is only highly dubious, and he says we must re-examine this whole question of the 6 million. Look, it's very interesting, Montel. People have heard over and over about 6 million Jews dying in Europe during the Second World War. How many people in this audience know how many Germans died during the Second World War? How many Americans died during the Second World War? How many Chinese died during the Second World War? In America, as time goes by, the more time passes, the more there's emphasis on the fate of one particular people during the Second World War, almost to the exclusion of everyone else. I mean, how many of this video?
Now, just one little snippet, but it's the truth. The 6 million number was not only has been lowered everywhere else but here. It doesn't, it's impossible. There were only 3 million bad guys in Europe at the time, and most of them escaped here. So it's physically impossible for it to be an accurate thing. But the fact is, it literally doesn't stand up to any sort of scrutiny. Anytime people try to look into it or try to prove it, they don't. Every time they say a bunch of bodies were buried here or there, they're not. And we have the tech nowadays to be able to prove it. You can scan the ground and see, is there any big, burial sites right here? No. It's all bullshit. Just like October 7th is bullshit. There's literally no proof of it. The only proof you have is that the IDF says so. And they gave us a list of names of the around 1,100, around 1,200 people killed in bad guy land. Not bad guys killed, but people killed in bad guy land. The whole October 7th narrative is fucking dumb. It really is dumb. You honestly believe that this peasant group of people that just has been getting their shit kicked in for 70 fucking plus years can't seemingly, they're under blockade, so they can't get food, medicine. They're not even allowed to bring in lumber to rebuild the things that bad guy land destroys, because bad guy land says, well, lumber could be used to get bad guy land. Yet somehow, on October 7th, they were able to not only smuggle in 5,000 rockets, nobody knows who paid for those 5,000 rockets, but also enough rocket launchers to be able to launch 5,000 rockets in 20 minutes, or 4 rockets per second for 20 minutes. Does anybody understand how ridiculous that is? 4 rockets per second for 20 minutes straight. It's just impossible. And if it were possible, you would absolutely know where to target, because 5,000 rockets coming out of one place should be pretty easy to target. But it's literally bullshit. And there hasn't been any sort of investigation, just like there never is. There's never any investigation into the bad guy claims. And when somebody else claims something against Bad Guy Land, well, Bad Guy Land gets to investigate itself and always finds no wrongdoing on their behalf. You know, when do you guys realize you're being lied to? And see, you'll notice, like, there won't be any sort of argument to the contrary. Again, it's more of of random clown pages, Team Jorge pages, Act IL type pages, telling me I just shouldn't talk about these things. I'm just crazy and I shouldn't talk about these things. The thing is, when you have the truth, you put it out there and you want people to question you so you can help them understand. If I was wrong, they would do to me what I'm doing to them. It wouldn't constantly be this narrative. Don't say that. Don't say that. Don't say that. You know, I encourage you guys to look up Samantha Wohl. You know, and how they claim that this woman was, this bad guy community leader was found dead between 5:30 and 6:30 a.m. on October 21st. And then the newspapers from October 22nd talk about how amazing her funeral was and that over 1,000 people attended it. Meaning they had a funeral for this community leader within hours of her being found murdered. If you look up the Bad Guy Land GOG shootings of 2018, where Robert Bowers Jr. supposedly killed like 13 of them on a Sunday. You know, he attacked. He's this terrorist trying to cause as much terror as possible, and he attacks the Bad Guy GOG on a Sunday. Saturday is their day of worship. But you'll see that on Monday, half of the supposed victims were buried. They had funerals for half of them. And on Tuesday, the other half. Their cult practices override protocol. You know, these were murders. There needs to be investigations and all these other things, but nope. They just supposedly bury the evidence as quickly as they can. There was another story from early in 2023 when supposedly some Hamas militants shot up a gas station in Bad Guy Land, killing 4 people, supposedly. One was an older man, one was a person in their 30 plus, and then 2 were younger girls, 25 and under or whatever. And the story is that the settlers decided to do a rampage. They were so mad about this, they do what they call a rampage, which is, it has a term. It's a thing where the settlers get in a big long line, and as they walk forward, they destroy everything they can. They burn down houses and burn cars and beat people up and do all these things. And they do it because the IDF is behind them with machine guns, ready to shoot or capture anyone who dares fight back. It's called a rampage. It's a really common thing that they do, right? And they say that on that day, the settlers waited until the girls were in the ground before they started their rampage. Well, the girls were killed, and the rampage happened like 3 hours later. So somehow these 2 girls were killed There was an investigation, there was a funeral, they were buried, and then the rampage took place. How is that possible? Have you guys ever heard of anyone being killed? Not you have some old person who's on life support and they're deciding to pull the plug, and then they have the funeral set for that day, I guess. I mean, I still don't know how logistically that would be possible. But have you ever heard of somebody being killed and having a funeral the same day? Nope. The answer is no. You're going to say no. You know, you haven't, because it's not it's not doable. But yet with the bad guys, it seems to be something that you know, the funerals, because they have this belief that they're supposed to be within the ground. They're supposed to be in the ground within 72 hours of their death. And they have to be in the ground whole. They can't be missing any pieces or anything like that. And so one of the best sort of examples of this is, so where are all the funerals from October 7th, 8th, 9th? There should be around 1,100, 1,200 funerals, right? No. No, there's not. There's a few funerals that you're shown, you know, they mock funerals, whatever, but there's nothing close to it. You know, again, when you're talking about the system and you're talking about you're going against the system and the narrative you're given, by the way, if you're watching, like, share, and sub. When you're going against the narrative you're given, it's not like you're going to find a whole bunch of Balfour declarations, you know, a whole bunch of narratives, a whole bunch of pieces of paper or whatever that's like the government, like, yes, we are doing this conspiracy to keep the Goyim slaves, blah, blah, blah. You're not going to find that. You have to look. You have to look at the information you're given and scrutinize it and see if it makes sense or not. You know? When you're told that somehow this one peasant group somehow rallied together and flew paragliders into bad guy land and took hostages, I mean, it's just stupid. And the one place that they happened to attack was like the most heavily surveilled, fortified area in that region. And yet somehow they were able to fly paragliders in and then take people hostage. What did they tell the people? Like, grab onto the bar and start running really fast so we can take back off. Look how desperate they are. Oh, I'm so desperate, I'm going to drop N-bombs. Not with any sort of like balls. You're going to do it in one letter comments that actually it gets broken up by other comments, so you look stupid anyway. But it just shows you the type of cowards we're dealing with. They're just cowards. They're stupid cowards. And this is how they operate. Can you imagine, like, they're attacking the guy that thinks we should stop genocide and kill pedos. Who's gonna oppose that? Who in their right mind thinks we should support pedos and not kill them? Who in their right mind supports genocide? Anybody? But at the same time, like I just said, you're not going to get a bunch of people that are going to come out here and have the balls to be like, yeah, I support genocide. Yeah, I support pedophilia, and I support slavery, and they're not going to say that. So you have to look at what they say. You know, these guys are motivated to say all the craziest shit in the world. Are they ever motivated to be like, yeah, fuck pedophiles, we need to kill them all? Nope. Are they ever motivated to you know, hate bad guy? Oh, yeah, bad guy land is terrible. We need to get from under the thumb of these psychopaths. Nope. They don't say anything like that. They never do. But they're definitely motivated to say, let's see, given over to a debased mind, I pray for you, buddy. Chet, love him until he gets help. I'm out. That's the kind of nonsense they say. You're going to pray for me. Oh, you're going to pray for me. Not all those children being killed and or raped by the bad guys. Never mind that. If you believe in prayer even a little bit, if you're dumb enough to believe that God has a plan and that, you know, you can affect that plan. Of course, God doesn't answer prayers now. God answers tithing, right? You got to remember that. But you believe that your omniscient God who has this plan and knows everything and blah, 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 that it somehow, it's like, you know, I have this plan, but then you're going to be like, please, God, can you change your mind and let me have what I want? Because people only talk about prayers when it's their own selfish bullshit, right? Well, I prayed. I had some dude come on here and be like, I prayed that God gave me a wife and God gave me a wife. I prayed God gave me a child and God gave me a child. I prayed God gave me a car and God gave me a car. Like, man, how are you praying that all those children that are being raped by clergy as we speak, what are they doing differently? Are your eyes closed a lot more than theirs are? Or do you just not think that the kids that are being held hostage by the clergy, by the Vatican, that they're just not praying enough? Like, it just, the stupidity it takes to believe like that is beyond me. Chubby girl? Hey. Ange. Yeah. Joe's here, I think. Oh, nope, forget it. My bad. I thought he was dropping those off for you. I was wrong. He was walking down with a handful of stuff. I thought he was bringing it here. Maybe you should read the Bible. I hope you know a devil exists and he's in you. Yep, the devil's in me because I think we should kill pedos. What's worse than having an imaginary friend? Having an imaginary enemy. And the Bible isn't really about the devil. The devil isn't the main bad guy in the Bible. The main bad guy is you know, the bad guys. Is the chosen. You know, the ones that kill your Jesus. Like I always say, if you're not chosen, then what are you? And your own stupid belief structure. And the funny thing is, that was a woman that said that, right? A female says shit to me like that. I love when females don't know their own Bible. Right? Because they don't like, let's see, where is it? 1 Timothy 2:12. 1 Timothy 2:12. And this is not Old Testament. I do not permit a woman to teach or to have authority over a man. She must be silent. They should be silent and not be allowed to teach or to tell men what to do. Well, these are the different versions of it. But I do not permit a woman to teach or have authority over a man. She must be silent. Obviously, if you're a female Christian and you're on here talking your shit, you must not believe in your book very much, right? Or are you it's just part of your cherry picking program? What is it? How does that work? It's funny, as much as Christians seem to to push their shit, as soon as I start actually talking about it, bringing shit up, expressing that I know more about their thing than they do, they sure do get quiet. They sure don't like the fact that we talk about, you know, how you justify your bigotry saying Sodom and Gomorrah, yet you clearly must not know what that story's about. Because Because that story promotes incest, promotes rape, promotes pedophilia. That story is awful. Lot was, instead of the rape mob raping the two men that just showed up to his house, he was willing to give up his two virgin daughters, who had to be like 12 or 13, 14 maybe. Because back then they were, people were wed off. But again, Lot is a bad guy. He's not a Christian. Every story in that book is about bad guys. It's a bad guy narrative, and you guys just, you dumb Christians don't seem to understand it. Think about how stupid you have to be to believe that all of the answers to your 2025 life come from a story that's supposedly 2,000 years old, but was really commissioned in 1611 by King James to blah, 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 blah. And the reality is, prior to the finding of the Dead Sea Scrolls, the oldest known texts regarding the Bible were from like the 900s. Meaning for the first 900 years, if you believe the narrative, that people weren't talking about that shit. It wasn't a thing. It wasn't written down anywhere. But you know what else is weird? Is that the concept of zero wasn't invented until the like 560s or something like that by some guy in India. And it wasn't commonplace in the Western world until the 1100s to 1300s. So how did they ever do any sort of math if the concept of zero wasn't there? You guys know why we live in AD? Most people think it means after death. It doesn't. It means Anno Domini or something like that. In the year of our Lord. And it comes from 525, which again, I don't know how we have 525. But in what became 525 AD, a guy called Dionysius in Italy just sort of magically figured out that it's 525. Like, you don't know, like, where was he getting his information from? How did he know that it was 525? And then how did he categorically go backwards to be like, okay, this happened in this year, so now we go back to this, and then we go back to that. And we're talking about, it's 525. What did 525 look like? The crazy part is when you see the paintings and stuff from supposedly back then, they had monumental buildings and huge structures, and so they were capable of building incredible things, but not really sure how. But somehow in 525, this random guy, Dionysius, decided it was going to be 525. Didn't have the concept of zero to be able to math it properly, but still. 525, and then he presented that he somehow had an appointment to present his findings to the nobility of the time, who then were like, yep, you're right, 525. All over the world, everybody but a few different countries will now accept that it's 525. We need everybody to backdate all your history and all that so that 525 is the accurate account. Do you realize how stupid that is? And considering, they say that it goes from 1 BC to 1 AD, there is no year zero, because they didn't have the concept of zero back then. Well, then how did they do the math to begin with? I know I'm right. Thank you. And notice how I'm like using the system. This is the system's narrative. This isn't my made up narrative. This is the shit they want you to know. That's why the only things you ever see me look up and read about are from Wikipedia. That's the main source of information. That's the thing that they want us to know. By the way, speaking of Wikipedia, let's have fun here real quick.
This video showed up.
And we'll just show Naphtali Bennett. Oops. Naphtali Bennett, Wikipedia. Now, Naftali Bennett is the guy who, so in just under 4 years, Bad Guy Land had 5 different prime ministers. Well, sort of. Started with Netanyahu, then it was Benny Gantz, then it was Netanyahu again, then it was this guy Naftali Bennett, and then he stepped down and Yair Lapid took over, and then they brought Netanyahu back in. And Netanyahu's been brought back in a way that he can't be removed. But here is Naftali Bennett, the guy who would become the prime minister of Bad Guy Land. Listen to what he says about Wikipedia.
In conjunction with My Israel, has arranged instruction day for wiki editors. The goal of the day is to teach people how to edit in Wikipedia, which is the #1 source of information today in the world. As a way of example, if someone searches the Gaza flotilla, we want to be there. We want to be the guys who influence what is written there, how it's written, and to ensure that it's balanced and Zionist in nature.
I came here to learn.
That makes sense to you guys? Does that make sense? This guy is talking about how not only is Wikipedia the #1 source of information in the world, that Bad Guy Land, right when it started, this was at the opening of Wikipedia, so to speak, that Bad Guy Land sent representatives to teach the editors, the controllers of Wikipedia, how to edit the page, how to edit the system so that it has a balanced Zionist perspective. Like, I don't know what other information you need. Like, people always call, well, what's your evidence? What's your evidence? Okay, so I just show you the guy that would later become the prime minister bragging about how they control Wikipedia. What else do you need? Like, what else could I show you? That's not good enough. So what else could I show you? This is the most difficult part of this whole thing is the delusion, the shielding, the blinders that people have up. They'll say dumb shit like, oh, you don't have any proof. Where's your proof? Where's your proof? And you go, oh, right here, look. And then, oh, well, that's not good enough. Well, it's just a snippet. Oh, wait, you get that from Wikipedia? I don't believe Wikipedia is 100% true by any means. But Wikipedia is the way they want us to think. By the way, if you're watching, like, share, and sub. Help the fuck out. Don't just remain silent. Show the fucking system that we are stronger than they want us to be. That we're not going to back down. That we're going to keep fighting this fight. But seriously, what, you know. And then to think, like ask yourself. So many of these fake profiles, they come here every day trying to convince other people not to watch me. Trying to convince other people not to subscribe or to even, pay attention, that I'm crazy. All these people that have nothing else, they're not working, supposedly. They don't have family, they don't have friends, they don't have anything else going on in their life. So to the point where it doesn't matter what time of day I go live, they will come here and watch me day after day for hours, not addressing what's being said, but trying to get other people not to watch. How does that make sense? Is that something any of you would do? But then, it's like you guys just don't understand that something like Team Jorge, okay, Team Jorge, Wikipedia page, Team Jorge. Team Jorge is the name given to an outfit of Bad Guy Land contractors specialized in the use of malign cyber activities, including hacking, sabotage, and bot farm social media disinformation campaigns to manipulate the outcomes of elections. It's a team that specializes in manipulating elections. And you don't think they could fuck with my little Wikipedia or my little YouTube page? They bragged, Tal Heyman, the founder, the chief guy of Team Jorge, brags that they have 30,000, in 2022, mind you, that they had 30,000 plus fake bot profiles across all the platforms that they could just use for whatever they wanted to. And the thing is, you see Zuckerberg all the time bragging about how, Facebook is very, very, they're very diligent in trying to remove fake profiles and bot profiles. They got rid of 1,000 profiles out of China, 800 profiles out of the Philippines. Yet not one story is ever about how Facebook tries to eliminate bad guy land fake profile bot farms. You don't think there's anything strange about that? I mean, it's wild. They use a system, a software package called Advanced Impact Media Solutions, or AIMS. You can read the whole thing for yourself. There's a lot more to it. According to the group's leader, Tal Heyman, the group has existed for more than 2 decades and has engaged in propaganda and disinformation activities in more than 30 countries. Their services have been available to intelligence agencies, political campaigns, and private companies that wish to covertly manipulate public opinion. One of the organization's primary tools is a software package called Advanced Impact Media Solutions, or AIMS. The software automates centralized control of thousands of fake social media profiles on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, Telegram, TikTok, and others. YouTube. I mean, what can I show you? Sock puppet accounts. That's what fake social media profiles is. The term originally used to a hand puppet, blah, 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 sock puppets, or is a false online identity used for deceptive purposes. Includes online identities created to praise, defend, or support a person or organization, to manipulate public opinion, or to circumvent restrictions such as viewing a social media account that is a user has been blocked from. Let's see, history. Wikipedia has a long history of problems with sock puppetry. Here we go. See also. Conflict of interest, Team Jorge, Shill. Like, these are the see alsos. They pop right up. And see, this is proof that bad guy land actually controls social media. Again, I don't know what other proof you need, but when the system that they give us tells us that they do it, what else can I provide you if you're not going to look at that? So ACT-IL. It's another one. ACT-IL was a social networking service used by supporters of bad guy land to oppose online anti-bad guy content such as boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement, BDS. Its activities were referred to as an online propaganda campaign and a virtual situation room for pro-bad guy experts. ACT-IL directed its users to missions to like, comment on, or share pro-bad guy land material on social media. It also asked its users to flag, report, and respond to criticisms of bad guy land. Users were guided on how to respond, which might entail writing a reply using the provided talking points, or sharing or upvoting an allied comment. The app also provided users with ready-made memes promoting Bad Guy Land's perspectives for them to share. By completing missions, users earned points, unlocked badges, and had their scores displayed on leaderboards, at the very least. Like, what else do you guys need? What else is going to wake you up into thinking that, hey, maybe this is what's happening? Oh, I'm such a loser that I'm making a video that you're watching. So what does that say about you? And you're desperately trying to get my attention, not based on your intelligence, not like you're like, hey, I'll show everybody I'm smarter than this guy. You just do your same old propaganda bullshit, literally being the thing I'm talking about. Yuck. As in sucks. Yup, it says you're mocking my lack of intelligence. Yup. I'm so stupid because I'm reading you Wikipedia. That kind of desperation is just insane to me. But it's what it has to be, right? They have to say these things. They can't be like, well, you're wrong about this because of this. And they know if they actually start trying to address what's being said, they're just going to out themselves as the pedos and genocide supporters that they are. So they just do this dumb shit instead. This is what they do. But what else do you need? I'm showing you the one. It's just one Bad Guy Land black ops organization that has 30,000 plus bots at its disposal. I'll show you the other software package that not only only incorporates average citizens, but rewards them for doing so. Like, what else do you need? How else can you know, what else can you be provided? According to Plus 972, which is a Bad Guy Land website, ACT-IL was the centerpiece of a digital campaign called 4IL, for Bad Guy Land, announced in 2017 by Gilad Erdan, then Minister of Strategic Affairs, for the promotion of Bad Guy Land and delegitimization of BDS, boycott, divest, and sanctions. The ACT-IL app would assign users missions to challenge social media posts it considered to be critical of Bad Guy Land or in favor of the BDS movement. Erdan called it the Iron Dome of Truth. ACT-IL was a joint project of the private Bad Guy Land University, IDC Herzliya, I don't know, and the US-based Bad Guy Land American Council. The Maccabee Task Force, which again is, you know, the Maccabee Revolt is the foundation of their Christmas, I'll say. You know, that holiday that they have right at Christmas time. We're here in Detroit. A 30-foot menorah is erected downtown, just, you know, paid for by tax dollars. You know, everything about it is, we all have to pay for it, but it's a giant 30-foot menorah erected in the downtown area. That whole celebration is, again, about the cutty, slicey, sucky thing they like to do to children so much. It's a celebration of that. The Maccabee Task Force, one of Sheldon Adelson's foundations. Now, again, if you're paying attention, you know that Sheldon Adelson is one of the bad guys, right? He is a motherfucker. And he's one of the richest bad guys that they have. You know, he owns the Dallas Mavericks and shit like that. The organization behind ACT-IL is staffed by former intelligence officers. An app that was designed to promote Bad Guy Land and subvert any sort of criticisms and all that in like a tattletale program, was run by intelligence officers. And has a collegial relationship with the bad guy land intelligence community. Now imagine if it was like, you know, an app that was put out there by Iran, ran by Iranian intelligence, you know, stationed here in the United States and over there working with Iranian intelligence officials and all that. Imagine the outcry that they especially would be doing. But because it's this other foreign country who hates us, like I don't understand how so many people have it in their heads that they don't hate us. They absolutely hate us. The only thing that they like about us is our money and our toil. It has a close relationship with Bad Guy Land's Ministry of Strategic Affairs, which combats the BDS movement, which it views as a threat. Why would it be a threat? I thought that they were totally self-sufficient. They didn't need us. They didn't blah, blah. Why are they so worried about this small little nothing organization that's wrong? You know, I mean, just think about it, right? Think about it. According to Mondowies, an email sent in March 22 to the app's users announced that the app will be shut down and that users should continue to interact with ACT-IL's content on its other social media platforms. So it wasn't just shut down, it was just sort of moved. It was sort of renamed. Oh, I forgot about Hasbara. Right, Hasbara. The public diplomacy of Bad Guy Land, or Hasbara, includes mass communication and individual interaction with foreign nationals through social and traditional media, as well as cultural diplomacy. Organizations involved include the IDF Spokesperson's Unit, Prime Minister's Office, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and pro-Bad Guy Land civil society organizations. Historically, these efforts have evolved from being called propaganda by the early Zionists when the term was considered neutral, with Theodore Herzl advocating such activities in 1899. Gee, that's weird. I didn't think Bad Guy Land existed until 1948. To the more contemporary Hebrew term Hasbara, introduced by Nucham Sokolow, which translates roughly to explaining. The communicative strategy seeks to justify actions and is considered reactive and event-driven. So it's propaganda, but they knew that propaganda was a bad word, that they couldn't use the term propaganda just out in the open, so they renamed it something called Hasbara, which doesn't have an actual translation. So then they just have to tell, oh, that just means explaining. You could spend all day, looking into Hasbara. No, not all day. You could spend, it's a good hour looking into Hasbara, and it's exactly, what the claim is. It's the idea that they have infiltrated everything, and the sole purpose is to change the perspective, is to manipulate the perspective of the Goyim into either supporting or at least not going against Bad Guy Land. It's just how they do it. You're deflecting on a new. Tell me what, why do you even get involved with these idiots, man? I never understand why you get drug into it. I mean, I guess I appreciate it because you end up showing how stupid they are. But still, it's such a waste of energy. You don't even have to get involved for them to show you how stupid they are. They're stupid. They can't help it. The entire cult is just stupid, inbred, crazy motherfuckers. I mean, at the end of the day, Matt, you're here because you found a place where somebody's finally saying the things that you want to be said, and you're here, and it's like, holy shit. That dumbass that you're talking to, you've seen them here for months now, doing everything they can to avoid the conversation and coming up with all kinds of crazy nonsense to try to make me look bad. Not addressing anything, not coming with here, look this up, this will prove you wrong, here, do the nothing. If that doesn't tell you something else is going on, nothing will. Ad hominem is all they have. Yep. I actually haven't read this one in a while, so let's educate the fellow Goyim on this one. Ad hominem. Ad hominem, short for argumentum ad hominem, refers to several types of arguments that are usually fallacious. Often, currently, this term refers to a rhetorical strategy where the commenter attacks the character, motive, or some other attribute of the person making the argument rather than the substance of the argument itself. This avoids genuine debate by creating a diversion, often using a totally irrelevant but highly charged attribute of the opponent's background or character. The most common form of this fallacy is that person A, me, makes a claim of fact, which that's all I've been doing is reading you multiple different facts proving my narrative, to which person B, the commenters, random fake profile commenters, asserts that person A, me, has a personal trait, you smoke, quality, you're stupid, or physical attribute, your hair, I don't like your haircut, that is repugnant, thereby going off topic, and hence person B, the commenter, concludes that person A, me, has their fact wrong without ever addressing the point of the debate. It's so common it has a name. This is what they do. It's all they can do. Please prove there is a genocide in Gaza. Oh yeah, let's prove there's a genocide in Gaza. I'm just making it up. It's not like there's countless examples of the genocide happening. You know, it's not like there's countless videos out there showing you exactly what's happening. But let's why don't you defend your cult instead? Why don't you provide me with any sort of good stuff that shows the good that your cult is doing? Why don't you try to explain to me why Metitza Bipa is okay? Brit Milah with Metitza Bipa. That's the Cuddy Slicey Sucky. Why don't you show me why the mikvahs are okay because your vagina is so disgusting? Why don't you show me how, they aren't the ones that are constantly the Epsteins, the Weinsteins, the people getting in trouble for the worst possible things. I mean, it's just stupid. It's just stupid to think that this is the same sort of circular argument that like there's no such thing as Palestine. There's no such thing as Palestine. It's just stupid. I would give anything to have a Charlie Kirk or especially a Michael Rappaport. I would love to be able to get into it with one of these guys, but they never would. They never would. They would just say dumb shit. There's no such thing as Palestine. Charlie Kirk's ugly, dumb face. There's no such thing as Palestine. Oh, he's such a goof. Every time someone calls this a bong, you know it's a bot. It's just a bot. Nobody, not even non-pot smokers are dumb enough to call this a bong. But the program does. The program still can't figure out how to address it. This is how this works, man. It's a consistent narrative. This is consistently the bullshit that they do. No, nobody can tell me why we should continue to accommodate such a disgusting, horrible cult. Like, there's more than enough video footage of bitch-ass Netanyahu claiming that Iran is weeks away from nuclear attacks, nuclear capabilities, and they're going to attack the United States, and we need to take them out. We need a regime change, you know, along with Iraq, along with Libya, blah, blah. Like, it's just insane. The fact that you all know that Netanyahu, a foreign governor, a foreign prime minister who is just a disgusting, horrible person, comes to the Congress and gets a 10-minute standing ovation, 15-minute, whatever it was, standing ovation from both sides. You have a bunch of idiots standing there clapping like seals, for 10 minutes straight. Well, for what? What are we doing there? How is that a thing? Can you imagine how tired you would be if you sat there and clapped for 10 minutes straight? Like, it's just insane how stupid you guys are. But this is what it is. I mean, this is all you ever see. For the first time in modern history, you're actually seeing videos that come out of bad guy land that show bad guy land being attacked. They always claim to be the victims, but there's never any videos that show it. There's never any proof of it. Dumbass said that bad guy land attacks the Palestinians just as much as the Palestinians attack the bad guy land. Like, no, that's just not how that works. That's why you don't see it. I mean, it's such goofy nonsense. And it comes from, you know, the people that can't even apply common sense. Like, do you honestly think a submarine can crash through, can be ascending at 10 feet per second, so it's pretty fast, crash through 3, 4, 5 foot thick ice, and the people inside don't waver even a little bit? Do you understand how stupid your thought process is when you believe that? How many things in your own personal life you have to ignore to accept that? But you do. You know, it's just, I mean, look at all of you Christians out there. You literally have no reason or evidence or anything to believe what you believe. So much so that if somebody says they don't believe what you believe, you get mad and attack them. You don't try to explain to them what they're getting wrong, what they're missing out on, what you've seen that's proven to you that it's real. You just get mad. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that you have no ability to be able to have that conversation, yet you still align yourself with this bullshit? I love when you get a born-again Christian and you ask them, like, what? Especially when they claim, oh, I was an atheist. Okay, so what made you decide that suddenly this bullshit makes sense? And normally it's some sort of tragedy. They lost a loved one or something bad happened to them and they went to prison. Lots of born-again Christians in prison. But it's something negative that makes them believe in this super positive thing. But it's never anything that you can, like, quantify. It's never anything that you can like replicate or even prove exist. It's just, oh well, I had this happen. Oh well, I had this belief, I had this thought, I had this whatever it may be pop in your head. You gotta love it. When you have to make up shit to make your point, like I'm in a park. Look at me in a park. Gotta love this park in the middle of this neighborhood that I'm in. When you prove that all you have is made up nonsense, you kill your credibility. Why waste your time saying dumb shit like that, something that's so easily proven false, and destroy your credibility? You show that you're willing to say whatever dumb nonsense you can to hopefully get your point across. You're willing to make shit up to get your point across. Because you can't focus on the reality going on here. What pedo advocates for killing pedos? And the thing is, you know what's one of the funniest things is, I've been saying for months now, any one of these fucking profiles, any one of these profiles that wants any sort of credibility, all you have to do is make a Guy Williams sucks video. On the YouTube that you have readily available to you, that you use to comment on my feed, make a video, 30 seconds, make a short if you have to, but make a video, a minute or two, telling me how bad I suck and what I'm wrong about, showing that you're a real person. And you'll have, 100 times the credibility you have right now. How come I've been asking people to do this for quite some time and not one of them ever takes me up on it? Not one. Like you could, oh, well, we don't want to blah, blah, whatever dumb shit they say, Somehow if they make a video about me, it's going to go viral. You just want the attention of the viral. Yeah, because if you could make videos that go viral, you're not going to do it already. Make money and all that. You're not doing that. But make a simple video telling me how bad I am. Just to show that you're a real person and not a bot. Give yourself some credibility. Not one of them takes me up. Not one. Isn't that funny how that works? And of course, when I start saying this, now we're just going to get a whole bunch of dumb shit. Yep, big drugs. Weed is somehow a drug now. Perfectly legal weed is somehow a drug. And if weed is such a compromising drug, then why can't you take advantage of it and make me look stupid? If I'm so compromised, you should be able to take advantage of that, right? But yet again, this is what always seems to happen when I call them out. Prove that you're a real person and not just an ACT-IL Team Jorge bot. Prove it. Why are you so opposed to proof? I sit here and I read to you from the proof that you guys provide us, the narrative that you guys provide us. The Wikipedia that has a balanced Zionist perspective. That's where most of my information comes from. And I go live, don't hide my face, don't hide who I am. And proudly brag about my anti-supremacy. Yet asking you guys to make a video about how stupid I am, how bad I am, make a negative video about me, that if you're so convinced it's going to go viral, all you have to do is delete it after I see it. You send it to me, I'll see that you see it, or I'll see that you made it, and then I'll let you know, yep, I saw that video. How come they never take me up on it? And then you have these dumbasses who, I'll make a video if you agree to debate. What's stopping you from debating now? What's stopping you from like this? It's always the same fucking dumb tricks because it's always the same dumb people behind it. Nothing's stopping you from making your points right now. You could be making all sorts of points. Prove it's not crack, yes. Because you've seen how people smoke crack, right? People smoke crack in pretty pipes, pretty weed pipes, and they hit it like I hit it. You ever seen somebody actually smoke crack, or are you just talking shit again? It's just stupid, man. It's just stupid. No, I want to debate on Zoom. Oh, you want to debate on a platform where nobody can actually see it. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Instead of just making your points here, which, you know, you have so many of, then everybody can see them and you can show me. I can look stupid in front of my audience and in front of anybody else that wants to come see this. You could be helping a whole bunch of other people understand what I'm wrong about and therefore influencing other people. But no, you want to do it on a Zoom call. Interesting how that always works. Right? Isn't that funny how that works? You want to take the cowardly way out? All you got to do is make your point. You clearly can keep making the point about the debates and how you want to debate and blah, 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 but yet you can't make any other points? And of course, this is going to be your stipulation for making the video, proving that you're an actual person and not just a Team Jorge bot. It's just such stupid shit. The funniest thing is that they actually think this works. But this is the same people that say if you open up the books on bad guy land, you demonize bad guy land. Like, they honestly think that that's and people, oh, well, I don't want to do that. I don't want to look into your history and show what a piece of shit you are. Because, if you open up my books and you look into me, which, trust me, these idiots do, they should be able to find all sorts of bad things, right? If I'm such a bad person, But I don't. I go live. I don't hide my identity. I proudly say these things because I know there's nothing you can do to demonize me. Yet Bad Guy Land doesn't want the UN to open up the books on them because it will demonize them. You won't debate anyone because you can't just talk over them then. Yep, that's what it is. That's what it is. More and more excuses as to why you can't just make simple points. Funny how it's always my fault, the reason why you can't make any reasonable points. And me, the person that wants you to make me look stupid in front of my own audience and however many viewers this is going to get, I want to be able to talk over you. It's just clown shit, man. This is just what they do. Not one of them will take me up on this, right? Not one of them will take me up on the idea of just making a simple video. Make your own video where you express your points. And then, you know what? What we could do is you send me the link and then I'll watch the link on my live feed where you're expressing all these things that I'm wrong about and how stupid I am. I'll show the whole world that watches me. And you could do it that way. But for some reason, you don't want to do it. Why? I'm giving you the option. I'm giving you the opportunity here. Yet never seems to happen. The only time anybody ever makes videos about me, they hide their identity. You make assertions that are false, then you just ignore proof. Yup. Yep. The proof that you keep providing, I'm just ignoring it. Like this is where I start to ignore this profile. Because it's just dumb shit. Yep, it's my fault that you won't make any proof because I just ignore it. I'm literally reading your comments and then addressing them, but I'm going to ignore them. How about we have a Zoom and you live it here? Why do I want to talk to you? Why do you think I want to have a conversation with you even a little bit? Holy shit, what the hell is going on down there? That has to be a car, right? What the fuck? Oh yeah, that's that car. Yep. Yep, now we're back to me being schizophrenic. Now somebody's going to bring up the earth shape, and somebody else is going to bring up submarines, and we're just going to keep going in these circles because I'm wrong. Schizophrenic. Like, again, just showing how stupid you are. You don't even use the right burns, the right terms. I'm not sitting here talking to voices. I'm not sitting here thinking people are in the trees. This isn't schizophrenia. There isn't multiple personalities happening here. But that's, again, this is the standard shit. I can't answer what you're bringing up, so you must be crazy. Right? Oh, well, the title, well, you mean part of the title. Because the other part clearly alludes to the whole Palestine genocide situation. But you want to ignore that part because that part doesn't fit your narrative, right? And it literally says, title of the show, part this. But hey, right? It's schizophrenia. Remember, all of these people that come in here and comment, they're motivated to say these things. Not one of them is motivated to condemn pedophilia. Not one of them is motivated to condemn genocide. Yeah, I don't believe in genocide, but you're wrong about this. Or I think those pedos need to die, but you're wrong about this. They don't say anything like that. It's just a bunch of stupid shit. Trying to convince the watchers that something is wrong here. Because they know they're not going to get me saying the same old dumb shit. But they're shocked by my views and they don't like what's happening. So they're trying to make me shoot the messenger, make me seem crazy. I'm crazy. How dare you think we shouldn't be killing people? Mostly children and women, but mostly children. No, now I can't stay on topic. So I'm either supposed to read the comments or I'm ignoring them. But then if I read the comments and they say different things, then I'm jumping topics. Huh. Funny how that works. Now my bowl isn't working right. Yep, that's what that is. It's always amazing to me, like, they're the most arrogant, go home. They're the most arrogant, shitty people in the world. But that arrogance doesn't come from intelligence. That arrogance comes from, just fantasy. Because when you try to, dig in deep with it, okay, well, come on, let's show me how smart you are. Show me what you have. They just have nothing to say. It's always the same crybaby nonsense. And they're cowards. They're too cowardly to admit that they do support the genocide and they do support pedophilia and, they do support our subjugation and our slavery as Goyim. And this is why they don't have any sort of balls to say anything like that. It's just that I should stop saying what I'm saying. They're going to watch me for hours and tell me I should stop saying it. How stupid is that? Right? I mean, it's consistently stupid. And at least they're consistent about that. They're not capable of anything else. Not one of these comments addresses anything being said. Not one. Look at it. I mean, it's... The thing is, I wish it was better. I wish my opposition was better at what they do, because that would sharpen my skills. I always compare it to boxing, right? I feel like the fucking baddest ass Mike Tyson in his prime. And nobody even wants to fight. You know, and then I'm stuck, you know, I'm worried that I'm going to get my Buster Douglas situation. You know, where Mike didn't train because he just got so confident in what he does, and all of his opposition just kept getting destroyed, that he, you know, his skills weakened, and his knife was dulled. You know, if I'm training, like if you're a boxer, the worst thing you can do is surround yourself with yes men. With people who just, oh yeah, everything you're doing is perfect. No, you want that person that's going to scrutinize every minute detail. You're throwing your punch like this, and you're bringing it down an inch too low. You need to bring that punch back up a little bit every time you could, because it's those little holes that will get exploited by those who are your opposition. So I'm constantly like, please, you know, find the holes in what I'm saying so I can make a stronger argument. But they never do. They just, you know, just like they'll never prove they're real, they never actually make any sort of real arguments. And they love stroking each other. They love to stroke each other. This guy's crazy. Literally, all you have to do is make a quick video, and you'll debunk a huge portion of what I'm saying. Because I'm claiming that most of these profiles are bots. They're Team Jorge bad guy bots. And it's just so strange. These people that are like they so desperate for my attention, they keep trying to say whatever stupid shit they can say to get my attention. And yet the one thing I'm saying, go ahead, do this. This will show it. Title the thing, Guy Williams Sucks, and I'll play it live, and I'll show you're a real person, and not one of them takes me up on it. Just wants to rant, blah, 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 yeah. That's what it is. It's like, it's funny, it's like all the First Amendment auditors that are doing their thing, and then the cop walks up and he's like, hey, you're just doing this to provoke us into saying something stupid so then you can put it on YouTube and you could sue us. So here, let me give you what you want. Like how does your brain work? If you know the person is looking for people to you know, prove that his opposition is stupid, why do you come in and be like, oh, I'm stupid. I'll say something stupid. I think a lot of people don't realize just how many pedos are out there. You know? The pedo situation is drastic. And the pedos know that if someone like me ever gets any sort of power, they're dead. Like, there's no excuse. There's no second chance. We're just going to kill you. All of the people in prison right now that are living their sentences in their nice cushy fucking cells and shit like that. I don't necessarily say we just kill you outright. That's a waste of materials and shit like that. What I really think is that we should have a system set up, and we should acknowledge the fact that there are psychopaths out there. There really are people out there that like to rape and torture and kill. And so I propose that we have a system set up that if you're one of those people that have those urges inside you, that you can sign up for the program, and as long as you're not out there doing that to innocent people, Whenever somebody violates, violates a child, rapes a woman, rapes a man, whatever, then you're given that person to do whatever you want to. I think that actually kills two birds with one, well, feeds two birds with one seed, we'll say. Because that makes the rest of us a lot safer. Pretending like they just don't exist or whatever doesn't keep anybody safe. But if we say we acknowledge that you have these urges, it's fucked up, but that's what you do. Here, we're going to give you the people that are already in prison. Each person gets let's say you get a person once a year. Or more if the climate continues to exist that can supply that, which I don't think it will. I think when pedos know that that's the consequence, that they'll be given to somebody else to do whatever that person wants to them, to do what they want to do to children, but to them, I think that'll stop a lot of it. And they know if someone like me gets any sort of power, that people will agree with that shit. Fuck yeah, that's a great idea. They don't want that. But I think most of you think it's a lot like smaller of a community than it actually is. But that's because you don't pay attention. I mean, Gordon Flowers, and like I say, I can't stand that piece of shit. I think he's a motherfucker. I think he's a piece of shit. I think he's brilliant at what he does. The way that he gets these guys to out themselves is just brilliant. But at the end of the day, he's a bad guy. He's a racist. He's a supremacist. He's a piece of shit. He could always say, "Look, I don't support. I denounce the cult, and I'm not part of it. My parents happen to be, but I'm not." Well, then that's amazing, and you'll be elevated to the top of society as far as I'm concerned. But that dude's catching people every day. And there are just endless. There are so many pedophile hunters out there on YouTube and other platforms that are literally catching people every day. And that's just the people that are being caught. That's the people that have the balls enough or the desire enough to go. There are many more people out there that just trade in the imagery and whatnot. And when you understand just how deep and how large the community is of people who want to hurt children and do horrible things with children, and that this page has been the same for well over a decade, where the mission statement is always that we eliminate them, the opposition starts to make more sense, especially when they can't actually address anything I'm saying, and they're just here to try to stop me. Again, you're not going to see me going on Gordon Flowers' page and being like, "You're a piece of shit bad guy, so I want you to stop doing what you're doing." No. I've said it time and time again. You could be a guy who, only goes after black guys who like little boys. And I'm going to support you. You could be a fucking racist piece of shit, but as long as you're outing pedos, you have my support. So you would think they would go the same way back, but of course it doesn't. There's all these random people who just want me to stop doing what I'm doing and to be quiet and all this shit. Because why? What do you think their motivation is? What do you think motivates these motherfuckers? Once you see it, you cannot unsee it. It's the truth. Oh, bro sounds sad. It's so sad that somebody thinks we should kill pedos. Seriously, who's gonna say that? Who thinks that I'm wrong for thinking we should kill pedos? Who thinks that I'm wrong for thinking we should end the bad guy cult, that a large portion of which is pedos? And that their cult rituals are pedophilic at their root. The main, most important ritual they have, the most important mitzvah they have, is the cutty slicey sucky. That's their main one. When they talk about they've been kicked out of 100 countries in the past 1,000 years, the reason they've been kicked out of so many countries is the cutty slicey sucky. Nobody ever talks about why they were kicked out. They just sort of make it sound like they're the victims because they were kicked out. Well, it's not like they were doing good shit and people were like, man, they're just too good. They're just so nice and so much better than everybody that we want to kick them out of our country. It's fucking silly, man. It's fucking silly. And again, all you see is ad hominem. I'm supposed to be reading all of these comments that say nothing. No attempt to answer any of the things that are said, any of the claims, no attempt to debunk anything that's being said, none of it. But I'm just supposed to read, you're stupid, you're crazy. I'm just supposed to keep reading that nonsense over and over again. Not one of these motherfuckers is going to, again, acknowledge that pedos need to die. Yep, I'm gonna cry. Look at me crying. I often laugh when I'm crying because I'm a psychopath, This is how this works. And the thing is, a lot of the shit that they say it because it's shit that works on them. Like anybody that ever calls you a snowflake, it's because someone called them a snowflake at some point, and that hurt their feelings. So they were like, oh, that was good. I'm going to use that one. I'm going to start calling other people snowflake. It's just such, it's comical. If it wasn't such a serious, there wasn't such a serious situation behind it all and manipulating it all, it'd be comical. They are not the real chosen ones of the Bible. In fact, there is no letter J in the ancient Hebrew. The word of Yamada, blah, 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 we're black of skin. That's if you believe the bullshit you're given. But when you start talking about ancient Hebrew, that in itself is bullshit. Hebrew is the youngest language on the planet. It was invented in the late 1880s, early 1900s by a guy called Eliezer Ben Yehuda. And his son is considered the first Hebrew speaker in modern times because, again, the language was just lost and had to be revived. And with so much missing from the language, they had to actually use Arabic to supplement it. And basically all it is if you took a mirror and you put a mirror up to Arabic, that's what Hebrew is. But it's the youngest language on the planet. Literally, there are pictures of the guy who invented it. And yet people just don't know, they don't believe it, whatever. I can read you the narrative, I will, but you just won't believe it, right? By the way, if you're watching, don't forget to like, share, and sub. Helps out. If you need to, share the video on Facebook with the title, "This Guy's Crazy." And all of the commenters are too dumb to tell him how, including myself. So, if you're worried about people will judge me if I share your stuff, well, quit hiding. Grow a pair. If people judge you because of shit I say, they're just looking for an excuse. Why didn't they come after me about it? Why are they coming after you? Do you know everything I'm going to say? How could they hold you accountable for what I have to say? But share, like, share, sub, help. The thing that we have to understand is that the machine we're up against is a well-oiled machine. They're bad guys before they're anything else. It doesn't matter where they're from. There's the law of return, and as long as you have a grandfather who was a bad guy, you can return to bad guy land and be given full citizenship and be given your check and all that other shit. That's not how we think. They have us fucking fighting, hating each other over skin color, over sexual identity, over sexual preference, you know, any of that shit. We hate each other. Oh, well, you're a Yankee. I'm a proud Southerner. The invisible Mason-Dixon line, that makes you different from me. You know, they've manipulated us into hating each other over the dumbest things. And we just fall for it. Most of the time because we think we sort of have to. Like, it's a part of our identity to hate other identities. And you just don't realize, like, how manipulated you truly are. What are your top 5 conspiracies? There's only one that matters. One that matters. If you want answers to all the other conspiracies, if you want to figure out what shape the earth really is, if you want to, you know, end the pedophilia, if you want to out Hollywood, you want to out the government, you want to do all of that, you have to stop the genocide. There's only one real conspiracy, and that is the group that controls everything and provides it to us. Like, unfortunately, Tartaria is one of the best conspiracies that they've ever given us. One of the best distractions they've ever given us. Because at the end of the day, they control the information. Look, it's crack and meth all rolled into one blunt, along with alcohol and whatever else drugs you can throw in there. Cracky meth blunts. Yep. Look at the dumbass. Look at the dumbass comments. Just look at how stupid they are. It's so fucking funny to me. Especially all the tough guys. I guarantee not one of the tough guys in the comments would say the shit to my face. Not one. That's why they use the hidden identities and shit like that. But here, let's educate just a little bit more. Eliezer Ben Yehuda, born Eliezer Yitzhak Perlman on January 7th, 1958, died December 16th, 1922, was a Russian bad guy linguist, lexicographer, and journalist who immigrated to Jerusalem in 1881 when the Ottoman Empire ruled it. He is renowned as the lexicographer of the first Hebrew dictionary and also the editor of the Jerusalem-based Hazvi, or whatever, Hazvi, I don't know how you say it. One of the first Hebrew newspapers published in the land of bad guy. Ben Yehuda was the primary driving force behind the revival of the Hebrew language. To accomplish the task, Ben Yehuda insisted with the Committee of the Hebrew Language that, to quote the committee records, in order to supplement the deficiencies of the Hebrew language, the committee coins words according to the rules of grammar and linguistic analogy from Semitic roots, Aramaic and especially Arabic roots. In 1903, along with many members of the Second Aliyah, supported Theodore Herzl's Uganda scheme proposal. Did you guys know that? we'll talk about that in a second. Did you know that the original bad guy land was supposed to be in Uganda? You don't need to tell him twice. Also, rambling isn't education. He's talking about educational things to learn, the opposite of rambling. Of course. But that's all they have. They're saying I'm rambling because I'm reading Wikipedia. They're doing everything they can to try to make it seem like something I'm doing is wrong because they can't debunk the information I'm giving. Ben Yehuda raised his son, Ben Zion, meaning son of Zion, entirely in Hebrew. He did not allow his son to be exposed to other languages during childhood and even berated his wife for singing a Russian lullaby. His son thus became the first native speaker of Hebrew in modern times. The Uganda scheme was a proposal by British Colonial Secretary Joseph Chamberlain. Chamberlain doesn't sound like a very chosen name. To create a bad guy homeland. Bad guy homeland. So the whole narrative is that this was the land that was promised to them by God and the Bible. This is the Holy Land and blah, blah, blah. So how did Uganda fit into it? In a portion of the British East Africa, it was presented at the 6th World Zionist Congress in Basel in 1903 by Theodor Herzl, the founder of the modern Zionist movement. He presented it as a temporary refuge for bad guys to escape rising anti-supremacy in Europe. The proposal faced opposition from both within the Zionist movement and from the British colony. The British were involved in the scramble for East Africa to safeguard a range of British interests, such as commercial superiority, the crusade against the East African slave trade, apprehension over the control of the territory that served as a route to India, and rivalry with the German and French governments. Oh, they were opposed to the slave trade, so they wanted to enslave the people in their likeness and their way. They opted to exercise indirect control over East Africa by establishing the Imperial British East Africa Company, IBEA, led by William McKinnon in 1888. Just think about this again. What do you think 1888 looked like? How was all this communication and everything being done in 1888? Who were these, who were these people that could just travel all over Africa and all this other shit in 1888? How were they communicating with each other? Despite significant investments, the Imperial British East Africa Company, IBEA, began to fail by mid-1895. Poor infrastructure, financial instability, huge debts, and inadequate management led to this downfall. As a result, the British government proclaimed the Protectorate, and its administration was transferred to the Foreign Office. With the aim of exploiting the commercial potential of the interior regions, the British built the Uganda Railway. Oh, did they? They just built the Uganda Railway then, huh? Yes, please. 2. Which ended up costing taxpayers a total of $5,244,000 back in 1888. They took the British taxpayers' money to build the Uganda Railroad in 1880s? Why would that make sense? Right? Why would any of that make sense to anyone? Unfortunately, the return on investment from the railway was not as substantial as anticipated. This shortfall, combined with the Anglo-Boer War in South Africa, you heard about the Anglo-Boer War in South Africa, didn't you? Sparked growing unease within the Foreign Office. Immigration to the Protectorate was viewed as a potential solution to the mounting debt. Funny how this isn't really talking about that, though. Huh? In summary, the British had the following motive in offering the Protectorate to the Zionists. There was a desire to control the influx of bad guy refugees to the United Kingdom after the pogroms in Eastern Europe to protect British workers. Of course, gotta be safe. So they were supposedly in danger from the influx of bad guys coming in. Now, if it was brown people, it would be a really horrible thing, and Tommy Robinson would be all about the bad guys, the Muslims are trying to take over, blah, 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 right? That's the Tommy Robinson thing. But when it's the bad guys doing it, and it's the bad guys doing it, and they're clearly violent, like why would the British need protection from people who supposedly just suffered from violent pogroms, kicking them out and all that other bullshit? How does that work? Doesn't seem to make sense. Number two, the Uganda Railway, constructed with the British taxpayer money, needed to generate a return on investment and reduce the deficit, and the Zionists could bring money and people into the Protectorate. Gaining bad guy support, number three. Gaining bad guy support was considered crucial for post-Boer War policies in South Africa. I mean, at the end of the day, currently, they make up 0.183% of the world's population. Geez, it's funny. Looks like the comment section got shut down. And, you know, people want proof. I'm supposed to be giving proof and proof and proof and proof. Yet when I start reading you what it says, the page gets shut down. 17 viewers and 12 likes. That makes sense, doesn't it? Number four, there was genuine concern for the welfare of bad guys in Eastern Europe after the Kishinev pogrom. Sure. I guarantee that's real. History. Just the country for Dr. Herzl. Joseph Chamberlain and Theodore Herzl were acquainted through the Rothschild brothers. Seriously. Seriously. I can't say it. You can't make this up. I hate that saying, but I couldn't have asked for it to be better. So the two main people in this narrative, the two people with the most power, were connected by the Rothschild brothers. Rothschild. I mean, are we seriously this stupid? They think we're this stupid. Are we really this stupid? Initially, Herzl proposed a plan to the colonial secretary for J settlement, because again, how many colonial secretaries for Christian settlement, for Buddhist settlement, for Druze settlement, for Muslim settlement? How many colonial secretaries do you think there were for those things? Central in Cyprus, because there was a colonial secretary for bad guy settlement in Cyprus. That's interesting. The Sinai Peninsula, or El Arish. However, Chamberlain deemed Herzl's proposal impractical since these territories were either inhabited or not under British control. Nevertheless, he agreed to discuss the El Arish plan with Lord Lansdowne, the foreign secretary, believing it could gain the support of world Jewry for Britain. Again, who gives a shit? They make up 0.183% of the population. Why would what they want matters over anyone else? If I give you a shit sandwich and I say, well, it's not all shit, 0.183% of it is the greatest thing ever. It's the best tasting orgasmic food you can find. Would any of you eat the shit sandwich trying to find that 0.183%? 0.183%, that's nothing. You wouldn't do anything if it had a 0.183% chance of succeeding. If you knew the thing had a 0.183% chance of succeeding, you would avoid it. You wouldn't even give it thought. 0.183%, that's nothing. That's almost zero. And then to think, how does 0.183% of the world's population have so much control? Gee, that's weird. Nevertheless, he agreed to discuss the Al-Ayers plan with... we already did that. Chamberlain left London in December of 1902 to tour South Africa and stopped in Mombasa before continuing to South Africa. In what? What was 1902 travel like? South Africa? That might as well be forever away from London. Yet he's going to go tour South Africa? Where does that make sense to you? How? What world do you live in that makes sense? After a warm welcome, white British settlers in the region presented their grievances to the colonial secretary about the Foreign Office's failure to attract a significant number of hardworking settlers to the area, hindering the profitability of the railway. So they brought in a bunch of bad guys, but the bad guys didn't want to work. The bad guys, as bad guys often do, were entitled. And thought it was 2025 where they could be getting, checks just for existing. Additionally, during a journey on the Uganda Railway through what was described as the white man country in East Africa, modern Kenya, how did Kenya go from being the white man country to what it is today? When did that happen? And to think that any part of Africa would be called the white man country. That's just silly to me. That's just fucking silly. Chamberlain's opinion on the sustainability of the tropical climate for Europeans changed. While on the trip, Chamberlain thought that this would be just the country for Dr. Herzl, and even proposed the idea of a bad guy homeland in East Africa to Dr. Herzl, but did not pursue it further, assuming Herzl's interest would lie only in Palestine or nearby. Gee, that's weird. It's so weird how it worked out for them, just the way it seems like it was planned. When you live a life that's entirely privileged and you get supremacy in every form, you can play the long game. You don't have to worry about the conditions being difficult and immediately want change like we do now. Breaking news, maximum world alert. China, Russia, North Korea, Pakistan, Yemen, Afghanistan are on high alert for conflicts between Iran and bad guy land after their citizens asked their citizens to immediately leave the conflicting countries. The situation in the Middle East is hanging on by a thread. The United States could intervene and trigger a global conflict. China, Russia, North Korea, Pakistan have warned that they will defend Iran and could attack the United States. The next 48 hours will be crucial for the world. Literally, this is all happening because the bad guys are attacking everyone. And the United States, America first, is backing them for some reason. Like, do you guys not understand how incredibly scary and dangerous this all is? And literally makes no sense in any other way than the bad guys control the United States and there's a bad guy conspiracy to control the world. That they're trying to wipe us out. I didn't think about depopulation with COVID. But with this being a direct result of COVID not working and us still calling them the bad guys that they are, the growing sentiment that they are the bad guys. Like the conspiracy is very much alive. Initial negotiations. Initially, Herzl was not interested in the offer of a bad guy homeland in East Africa. Can you imagine this? Why is the British government accommodating this? Well, let me ask this one guy if he'll accept that we take over an entire portion of the world for them. Here, is this good enough for you? No, you don't want this. Oh, you want this other place? Okay. As his focus was primarily on Palestine and its surrounding area. Gosh, that is just amazing. Here we are 100 plus years, 125 years later, and it's exactly happening the way that Herzl wanted it to. The fact is, they were given 80% of Palestine already, and that's just not good enough for them. 86%, actually. They were given 86% of an occupied area, which is paradise, mind you. And that wasn't good enough for them. They still want more. If you look up the Greater Bad Guy Land Project, it sure does, seem to fit exactly what's happening. All right. They've shut the comments off, so let's reset. Look in the description for your free download, www.the-bilderberg, bilderberg-group.com. It's free. Just, ask you how much you want to pay. You could donate all kinds of money. We'd appreciate it, but you don't have to. All we ask is that you share it with someone. There's going to be a link to Hollywoodism, the most important video you can watch. And there will be a link to 2 of our songs, George Bush Hates America and COVID Sauce. Go check that shit out. Share it, whatever. We'll come back. We'll see what happens. Pedophiles, kill yourself.